Hey there, everybody. It is Wednesday morning. I'm doing this taping for you all today, political taping, checking in on Wednesday. I usually tape on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. Welcome to the channel. I'm glad you're here. Welcome back, I should say, for my subscribers. I really appreciate you. If you are landing here, please do hit that like and subscribe button. Folks have been hyping the channel. I thank you so much for that. It really does help the algorithm and help the channel grow, help my content get out there. And I try to keep coming back and making it good and keeping us connected and looking into some stuff, some issues. You see, I've got my notes here in front of me today. I want to connect some dots with you all before we go to the cards here. I'll make it quick. And I also want to thank you all. I love being a part of this community. Even though I'm on this side of the camera, I value you, like partnership on that side of the camera, your comments, your knowledge. A couple of days ago, when Maduro was captured, several of you reached out to me and said, "Look into the Fiona Hill situation back in 2019." Fiona Hill, for those of you who may not know, she was an advisor to, we'll call him Frump today, right? Fraud, felon, for entertainment purposes only, right? So Frump. So she was an advisor to Frump. Worked apparently with Russian representatives around what we're hearing now is, or what I learned thanks to many of you, and then I looked it up and did the research on it. So she highlighted that there was a sort of unofficial deal being reached between the US and Russia in regards to Ukraine and Venezuela. That essentially Russia was proposing, again, all allegedly, supposedly, perhaps, right? Got to say that. But according to this situation with Fiona Hill back in 2019, that Russia was proposing, look, let us have our way in Ukraine, right? And in return, you got some ideas about what you might want to do with oil in Venezuela. We're good with that. Like, let's work hand in hand. We'll work with you, you work with us. Give us what we want. We'll give you what you want. I'm gonna look and ask Spirit. Bottom line, was this a coordinated effort, you all? And here's the kicker, or one of the kickers. Something Spirit had me let me to go. When was the first strike on the Venezuelan boats? It was in September. Remember, Rubio started meeting with Russian representatives, foreign ministers, back in July, right? This was right before they sent the CIA operatives in, what was it, around August? So in July, Rubio met with a foreign minister in Kuala Lumpur in July, right? September, he met with Rubio met again with foreign ministers, Russian foreign ministers, during the UN Assembly in New York, right? The attacks on the boats, Venezuelan boats, start happening around September as well. You get the timeline? All right. Now, today, moving forward to today, we've got Steve Witkoff and Jared Kushner meeting in Paris yesterday to talk about peace deal, their peace envoy from the U.S. Why those two? Right? The business guys, the money guys. So they're talking about extending U.S. business interests. We're seeing that there are all of these security guarantees that U.S. is supposed to lead those security guarantees, but it is also putting members of NATO members and members in the European Union on the line to also agree to supply security guarantees for Ukraine in efforts of reaching this peace deal. But the land disputes are still a part of it. Whether or not they're going to make part of the land that Russia's trying to take over in Ukraine, classified as a demilitarized zone. So that's a sticking point. But here we go. So that's one end of it, you all, in Ukraine. Russia, perhaps, this whole deal, the deals that we heard, the meetings that were happening in Miami recently, right? Secret meetings with Russian operatives and or officials, whatever, meeting with Witkoff, Rubio, Jared, etc. And so all of these meetings that have been going on behind the scene just prior to them going on in and capturing Maduro. Now, in Venezuela, we also understand, I think as of this morning, I saw on Reuters that this vessel, this tanker, empty, the Bella, I think they're calling it, that they've been chasing this, U.S. has been chasing this tanker around for a couple of weeks. They've been evading capture. They changed their registration or their flag to a Russian flag. They have been doing this. We understand that 19, this is according to the BBC, 19 U.S. sanctioned tankers are now being re-registered in the Russian registry. Going back to, is this a deal that was struck initially between the U.S. and Russia? You give us what we need in Ukraine, we'll give you what you want for Venezuela, okay? Venezuelan oil. It's a deal. Here's it. Here's where I'm ready to go in. One, I want to verify that this deal is a deal, that this has been a part of the exchange. Because with those tankers, and the question has been, why chase? Why go so hard for this tanker that for 2 weeks they've been chasing this Bella that's empty? At the same time, we're hearing that Trump is making promises to these U.S. oil companies. Look, the U.S. will subsidize your efforts to go in and take over the operation, the oil in Venezuela. We'll subsidize that. What is that? That's money. If the tankers, which are worth millions of dollars, it's certainly more, up to $100 million from what I read this morning, if they actually are carrying oil. But even empty, these tankers are worth millions of dollars, you all. If the U.S. Trump is promising to subsidize these U.S. oil companies going in and overhauling the infrastructure in Venezuela, right? Connecting the dots, then those tankers are money. That's money on the line. They want those tankers. 2 questions I'm about to ask now. Thanks for hanging in there with me. I wanted to set that up for you all. 1, was this a coordinated deal? Spirit, is all of this going into Venezuela, is this something that was cleared, essentially, a deal that was reached ahead of time between the war in Ukraine and the efforts by this administration to take over the oil in Venezuela, for starters, right? We have the sun. There it is. Yes, one of the most positive yes cards in, and also the sun can represent growth and the collaboration, the idea win-win. You get what you want, we get what we want. Wow. Spirit, this was in fact the Queen of Wands, the Ten of Swords, Temperance, and the Two of Pentacles. Okay. So it was a deal. 10 of Swords and the 2 of Pentacles is this deal is not going to hold up. Clearly. And that actually is leading me to my second part of the question, which was going to be, is Putin planning to double cross Trump? If 19 of these vessels, U.S. sanctioned vessels that the U.S. is planning to take, because either they're going to use that for transporting oil, they're going to use that to perhaps give license to or turn them over to these oil companies that Trump has made promises to. There's a lot. That Ten of Swords is, there's so much hinging on that, and Putin's plan is to backtrack off of that, because if these vessels, U.S. sanctioned vessels, are now registered to Russia, what's the deal? Are you really going to send the Coast Guard now to go and take over all of those tankers? All right. Queen of Wands, not so sure. I'm not so sure. This could even be pointing back to, because I opened up with this Fiona Hill, this advisor who apparently back in 2019 was a part of these talks in striking this deal between around Ukraine and Venezuela. That could very well be her. And Temperance is the time that it's taken. We know Temperance is moderation, it's patience, it's things, two opposite sides coming together to win-win, going back to that sun. Spirit, is Putin planning to double cross Trump with those tankers? Is he planning to double cross him and say, you can't have them? Seven of Wands, a face-off. Seven of Wands, you all. A face-off coming. Putin is not just going to let him take those tankers. And the Four of Cups. The disappointment that's going to set in when Trump realizes once again he's been had. And the Six of Coins, exactly. Because at that point, the deal, Trump has gotten these oil companies, he's trying to get them to sign on and agree to go in. There's meetings that are being lined up to agree, okay, we've taken, we've gotten Maduro out, but not the regime, right? Not the regime, not Maduro's regime. They're still there. So that's a part of the hiccup. Putin is still in working with them, and they're still working with Putin to say, listen, this is what it is, but clearly you're not going to sit back and let them truly take everything from us. And Putin, the Six of Coins, is saying, nope, but I'm going to let him lose some money. I'm going to let Trump, who now has made all these promises to the oil companies, the U.S. will subsidize your efforts. And there's the Three of Wands. So Trump is going to have to go back with his hat in hand to Putin, or send his emissaries, because clearly we know, increasingly for entertainment purposes only, he's in no shape to coordinate that. But that lights the fire back under Rubio, who has no pull. The High Priestess. This is going to be done behind a lot of back channel agreements. Listen, you told us we could have this if we worked a deal, helped you work your deal with Ukraine. But that's part of what he's holding. That's part of what Putin is holding over Trump's head right now. You want this peace deal in Ukraine? You're going to have to deal with us, Six of Swords, going forward on what's really going to happen in Venezuela with the tankers specifically. All right? Because all of this oil, it needs to get moved. It needs to be taken to refineries. It needs to be completely overhauled from what we understand, because it's crude. And you've got Trump saying, well, this Maduro's regime, Delcy Rodriguez and company, the interim president, Rodriguez, that they've already said, okay, we'll give you, 50 million barrels? We'll just, here, you can have it. You can sell it U.S. You can make your money off of it. We don't object to that. Not so sure about that at all. And that leads me to the second part of the reading today is there's some stuff circulating, gonna go look at it, that this regime, that Venezuelan officials, not being attributed to any specific person, but that Venezuelan officials are saying, okay, we know we can't fight back militarily, right? Not really in a position to fight the U.S., and fight this administration militarily. But we are going to take, word on the street, is that these Venezuelan officials are talking about funding, using some of their money, up to 1% I saw of the profits from their oil exports, to fund and pay for Epstein victims' legal fees, to continue the push to expose the Epstein files, and ultimately seeing that as a means to get Trump impeached, who we know already has come out and said, if you all don't, handle these midterms, I'm going to get impeached again, right? He already came flat out and said it. So is that true? Is there a push or an effort which would be perhaps Russian sanctioned around Epstein files? Is there an effort that's happening in Venezuela among Venezuelan officials to help further the Epstein file situation, either through helping the victims with their legal funds? But are they talking about that? The Ten of Cups. Wow. Okay, I want to go further before I get too excited about that. But the Ten of Cups feels like a collective, collaborative energy to do that, to help the victims. The Five of Wands, because of the conflict, we can't fight you outright. We can't do it militarily, but perhaps there's another way. Spirit, is there, will there be funding from Venezuela to help the Epstein victims? The Magician. Ooh, there's some there. I don't know how far the there goes or who all's involved in the there, but the Magician is not coming for no reason. Spirit, is this, and the Four of Swords, just trying to be low key with it, trying not to be discovered, right? Because those operatives, and we've seen that this regime, the Maduro's regime that's still in power, has already come and said, listen, we will prosecute anybody who's trying to help the U.S., right? The CIA operatives, I don't know if they're still there or if they've somehow gotten them out of the way, but that's what this is speaking to. That Four of Swords is that regime, Maduro's regime, saying, we got eyes on things and we're going to do what we need to do to stay in power. We got to satisfy this guy and let him go ahead, give him some oil. But we're not turning over. The country is not going to be turned over. All total. Not letting that happen. That's that Four of Swords. So, Spirit, is Russia going to aid Venezuela in resisting U.S. efforts? Are they going to backhand aid the emperor? 100%. That's Putin. 100%. This funding, so the Epstein file situation, Putin knows that's the one thing that Trump absolutely just cannot get out from under. Drag it out all you want, cannot get out from under. He knows that. There's been talk around whether or not he actually has some copies of files and things. But yes, he's going to help assist Page of Wands, planning. He's going to assist this current regime or what's left of the regime, Maduro's regime in Venezuela, in sort of a backhanded resistance. Because again, they can't do it with military resistance, but they can do it other ways to try and continue to ratchet up the issues that Trump is facing here, especially in regards to Epstein. One of the most damning things against him. Not the only damning thing. The last thing that I wanted to look at today, you all, is around, are we headed for another government shutdown? And the reason, many reasons, right? But one of the reasons, talking about Venezuela, talking about Ukraine, all of this military buildup, is the Department of Defense, from what I understand, their appropriations bill runs out on January 30th. So while we know that there's a lot of uproar, and justifiably so, around the Affordable Care Act subsidies, and the fact that they've run out and now those real costs are hitting people, that's a big argument. And the Dems clearly having been double-crossed, those 8 Dems that did what they'd had to do to reopen the government back in November. So there's that side of the fight. But there is also, tomorrow, I'm taping this Wednesday morning, tomorrow the Senate is supposed to vote on the War Powers Act. Now, I know a lot of people started getting, there was a lot of talk and movement around the numbers. Mike Johnson freaking out because in the House, the numbers are really starting to get skewy. MTG is out. Special election in March, and she won her district, what was it, by 30 points, I think. Trump won that district, Marjorie Taylor Greene's district in Georgia, I think by 27 points. So it really, we know that's a solidly red district in Georgia. Doubt seriously if there will be a flip, but we'll look at that as we get closer to March. But okay, MTG's gone. This man, Doug LaMalfa out of California, has passed away. And another GOP, Jim Baird from Indiana, had a car crash. He's been hospitalized. We know that Tom Massey is, although he's independent, he's been shown now to kind of buck the trend. So Mike Johnson's got a a mess on his hands. He's in deep, like losing it, crashing out is what Spirit is saying. The War Powers Act, real concern. Like, is that really going to go through the Senate? And even if it did, if it gets to Trump's desk, what's he going to do except veto it, right? So what are the options then? The options then come around. What I'm getting from the guidance is, hey, then Congress has to play the spending, card. Spirit, will the Democrats in particular, and perhaps the GOP members of Congress, get together around spending, Department of Defense spending? Are they going to tighten up on the defense spending bill or brace that for a shutdown? We have the moon comes at the bottom of the deck. Well, I want to go further before I interpret that. And the Ace of Pentacles. Spirit, like, okay, fine, here's an ace. If you read them, you know how I get. My aces are confirmation from my spirit guides that I'm on track. So, the moon. What I started to say when I first saw this is they're worried about another government shutdown, clearly. Like, the first one was so long and dramatic and harmful. Economically and otherwise. It's like, can the economy, is what Spirit is saying, can the economy itself weather another shutdown? So that's the moon. It's very much worried about it. But Ace of Coins, and notice all those dollars it's dollar signs in the tree, this is going to be an issue. They want to find a way to impede Congress, meaning growing numbers of Congress, meaning even some GOP members of Congress who are afraid to be vocal about it, secretly are realizing, hey, this could be, and there's the magician to confirm that this is about working the mechanics behind it. If we can't get the War Powers Act through to stop this administration, to stop Rubio and Hegseth, especially, not to mention Stephen Miller on this fixation on Greenland. If we can't do it outright, we've got to be able to do it another way. And with the polls tanking around Trump, with the midterms, everyone and their grandmother by this time saying there's just no logical reason that the midterms shouldn't go the Dems' way. That's what they're thinking. We'll do it that way. You don't want, and there's the Five of Wands, but it's going to be a fight. There's going to be a fight. Meaning, whatever Trump and company have on some of these GOP folk that has kept them bending the knee, because it is in their self-interest. It's not just their fear of retribution. There's stuff. Maybe some of them are in the Epstein files, allegedly, perhaps. Who knows, right? Gotta say it that way. But that's the fight. Will the government shut down, Spirit? I want to just jump to the chase. Will the government shut down again at the end of this month? Will we have another government shutdown? Eight of Pentacles, the Emperor, and the Knight of Swords, and the Queen of Cups. I think they're going to try and work a deal. Or the Emperor, Trump with that Eight of Pentacles, they're really going to try and work a deal to avoid a shutdown. Because that's going to be, and the Page of Pentacles, right? That's going to be so damaging. It's just a line that it's going to cause so much in chaos. In fact, I feel like this Page of Pentacles, you all, is a warning. Spirit is saying that's a warning that if anything, if the government shuts down again, that could be cause to remove Trump. from office, like really cause the Nine of Wands too much, just entirely too much, and too much even for his most staunch advocates to justify what he's doing. They're not going to be able to withstand it and there's the Wheel of Fortune, karma, and a cycle changing, a changing of the guard, or at least the mentality among some of the stalwart, boosters of Trump. That is so interesting. So right now, I get that they're going to try and stop. Trump is going to be on the horn with them saying we cannot afford another shutdown. Figure something out. Do what you got to do to keep the government open. But man, oh man, do they have a fight on their hands, you all. Man, do they have a fight on their hands. And last thing I do want to say about Greenland. I'm going to look at that probably on Friday. I want to really spend some time on Greenland. But I will say it's serious. And I had sort of poo-pooed it because and that was a Fefe, not spirit guides. I was poo-pooing that idea that they were going to go whole hog because regarding Greenland, because of the fact that then you get NATO involved, you've got the European allies involved, you've got Denmark itself as a NATO member saying this no. So it felt like all of that was going to hold. At the same time, when you're looking at how militarily, financially, or otherwise, how is Europe, how is NATO positioned to resist if the military here continues to just go whole hog? That's an interesting dynamic. But again, I think I'll take a closer look at that on Friday, you all. Okay. Thank you so much for being here. I appreciate you. Please, if you can, if you know how, hit that hype button for my members. I was traveling last weekend and then I had the cold I was getting over. So we will have our private Zoom meeting this Sunday, January 11th at 6 p.m. Eastern. I'll do a separate posting about that, just a regular post to remind you all. But if you're interested, if you'd like to join my membership, that is a private thing that I do as a bonus offering for members. We get on live on a Zoom call once a month. Check the description box below and you can see how to join my membership here on the channel. All right. Take really good care. The new mantra that we close our readings out with now, last year of 2025, it was chin up, shoulders back, and remember to breathe. Now we are going even bigger because the stakes this year are even bigger and more collective. So on a collective level, I want to share with you all our new mantra closing, and that is sky above you. Heaven, big, cosmos, sky above you, earth below you or beneath you, supporting you, solid, right? Foundation, and soul within you, all right? Infinite, eternal, meant for more, strong. We are spirits having a human experience, all right? Sky above you, earth beneath you, soul within you. I'll talk to you real soon. Be careful and be good out there. Bye.